Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound podcast. I'm your host, I'm Nadana, head of growth at saas.group. Serial acquirer buying wonderful SaaS businesses to take them to the next level. And here I chat with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business a success. And today with me is Philip, CEO and founder of Missive, collaborative email and threaded group chat for productive teams. Welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to see you here. Well, thank you for making the time. I know our time difference makes it very difficult to schedule, but I'm glad we did it anyway. So let's start with your background, maybe. You've got quite a story. You're a serial entrepreneur. There have been a bit of businesses before Missive and at the same time as Missive, and you sold two companies. So, yeah, let's get to how did you get to do what you're doing?
Yeah, well, so I've been, dangling with internet things since I'm a teenager, but that's like now like 25 years ago. I just turned 40 years old, but I've been playing with the internet since I got a computer at home when I was like 14 years old. And, I pretty much done it all. First started with like Flash game portals I built myself, then putting ads on them. And then from there, learned to code by myself and got a business degree in business management, which I really disliked. So at that point, just decided that I would just bootstrap my own way and start building my own companies. And here we are, like 25 years later, still doing it, still loving it.
Super cool. Well, just to the point of still doing it, still loving it. Yesterday, I had a conversation with another founder, and he was ready to go to his new journey, build something else because he said what happened to him was basically every time someone would say, "Oh, let's experiment with this and do this in marketing or this in product," he would go like, "Oh yeah, well, been there, done that." So like everything's old. I'm not really passionate about it anymore. I know it doesn't work, or if it does, it doesn't bring the results. How do you battle this kind of maybe anxiety or just the fact that yeah, been there, done that?
It's an interesting question. I think if I'm personally, and I think that the team at Missive is like me, is that we're absolutely obsessed with just building the product. So yes, we do neglect other aspect of the business, and in some way, that's what we try to improve. That's what we are trying to improve. But you know, what gets me up in the morning is really trying to innovate, trying to build a product that the customer love. And to me, it's like building a Lego set. Like you can always build another one. So building a product is it's like the best job in the world. I don't think I will ever get bored of doing it. And it's, still, it's what I do most during my work days is still like trying to make the product better. So it's really about focusing on the product. We're a small team, so it's not like we have a lot of management and processes yet. So it's still quite fun and enjoyable for us.
That's super cool. And I want to talk about the team a little more, but let's just leave it for now. What was the inspiration behind Missive? I know that uh, you first funded it with your previous businesses, but how did you get to build it in the first place?
Yeah, so actually, the story is quite long, but if we do it short, I actually started a co working space in my hometown, Quebec City, like 15 years ago. And that is where I met my actual co founders. And while I was starting this co working space, I was building my own project like indie hackers do today. And one of those projects was like a game festival in Quebec City and a game jam festival. So pretty much a like 48 hours competition where people could go and build games. And while doing that, I realized that printing the name badges really sucked. It was like the worst part of the event because like the day before you really need to sit down and like print them and insert them in plastic holders. And I was like, that could actually be a fun project. So I started to develop what became conferencebadge.com, which was like a name badge, on-demand name badge printing service. So you would go there, you would design your name badges, you would connect your Eventbrite, and then we would ship those badges to your hotel, to your venue, and whatnot. And I built this at first alone, and at some point I asked my now co-founders to join me. They were extremely talented. That was obvious. They were a bit younger than me. And then from building Conference Badge, and I go back to the first thing we talked about, the product, quite quickly, it was a done product in the sense that we didn't want like to do a complex product or like do more thing in the event industry. So, it was a good, nice, done product that was getting some traction, but quickly we were looking for something else, to build something else. And while building Conference Badge, we had relationship with customers, partners, and whatnot. And obviously, most of those things were done via email. And we just found that it sucked to be all alone in our own Gmail and not being able to kind of collaborate around our emails. And that was the first spark behind Missive. It was like, can we build a better email client where you're not alone, right? One where you can actually collaborate with your teammates, and in a way you don't need to add a help desk, you don't need to add Slack, you can still pretty much just have your email client because you injected collaboration in. So that was the first spark. And because we're really interested in building product, for us was extremely good idea. It was like, oh, let's just use the money from Conference Batch and then just work full time on that new thing, which we did for years before it got profitable. But eventually, I think it was the good move. But yeah, that's the story behind Missive. So from a co-working space to a game festival to Conference Badge and then to Missive.
All right, that's quite a journey. But since you already mentioned that it was bootstrapped and Conference Badge was bootstrapped, I know that at some point though you went to Y Combinator to raise funds,
Yeah,
or and it didn't work out. Why do you think it
no.
didn't work out, and why did you even consider raising in the first place?
Yeah, well, I think we applied for Conference Badge. We applied like in first time in 2013. And at that point, YC was getting a lot of traction, right? It was still like not what it is today, but it was kind of well known. Accu News was like the destination on the internet for anyone building like startups still at that time. And so for us, it was just like, would be fun to participate in such program, right? So it's just like, let's just apply. It's going to be fun. And so we did apply, and like I did, like I sent the form, and like a minutes later, Paul Graham, I think, replied directly to me in emails like, "Oh, that sounds good. You like, let's bring you for the interview." But we totally tank at the interview. Like we were the worst. The funny story is, I think it was Paul Bahide from Gmail plus I mean, a couple of partners at YC. And the funny thing is, we got in the room and they say, well, we don't do name badges here. So we brought the person that does name badges for us for our YC events. I don't remember her name. And it's just like, can you convince her to use your product? So it's like, yeah, like I start my pitch, and I'm not such a salesman. So okay. But at that point, she's like, well, I stopped you because me personally, I simply use mail merge in Microsoft Words to do my badge. And it's pretty good. And we had no idea what mail merge was. Like we simply had no idea. It's like we just tried to, instead of saying like we don't know what it is. I mean, we completely jam, and clearly we were not building $1 billion business with Conference Batch, so that was obvious too. But probably the answer at that point should have simply been, well, I don't know what mail merge is, and none of the people in my generation know what it is. So obviously, it's not what people is going to use forever, right? But at that point, we just freeze, and so obviously we're not accepted in the batch and just went our own ways. And I think we applied 2 times with Missive, and we flew 2 times for the interview, yeah. And both time, I mean, we absolutely did not do well as well. So, I mean, at that point, it's like, okay, like we're just not made for that world. Let's just like build things ourselves, and everything's gonna be all right.
And well, I guess it is at the end of the day. I mean, you were profitable and you became profitable, I think, fairly soon too. And you rejected quite a few offers for the acquisition, not from
Mhm.
us yet, but you did. So
I think you did approach us
we did.
a few years
Okay.
back. Yeah,
Okay. At the beginning. Yeah, we even
maybe.
tried to buy Snipcart at the very beginning. I learned that by interviewing Francois, but fun. So we wanted to win Quebec at some point.
Yeah, I guess you want to own Quebec City.
Yes. All right. So let's talk a little more about bootstrapping. I mean, bootstrapping is no small feat, and now with this like constant fight, trying to put founders in like one bucket. You're the
Yeah.
VC funded, so you're not really struggling. So you're not really, a real founder, and the bootstrappers are the next big thing. So coming to your bootstrapping journey, did you have some kind of, playbook that you brought from, your previous businesses? What are the kind of the steps that you're taking to know what to prioritize your spend
Mm.
on, and like, is there any tips for this sustainable growth journey?
Well, for us, it was always playing the long game. In a way, remember when I said we did not, at some point, Conference Bag was making money, was growing, and we stopped focusing on it. Like it's the worst business move, probably, because in a way, we had more ambition. We wanted to do a product in a space that was more interesting to us. With Missive, it's a bit of the same thing, is that we always kind of, every time you have a decision that you need to do or make, for us most of the time we would choose the path where like success was guaranteed long term, right? So in a way, so for example, we never really so when we start making money, instead of like all trying to spend it on growth and like putting some risk on your shoulder, we never did that. Like we accepted that the growth rate wouldn't be that high at the beginning, and we focus on the product because we knew that long term, that's what would set us apart. Because like the competitors that, I mean, our competition, like they raised hundreds of millions of dollars, right? They're juggernauts. So we were just three guys. So for us, like the existential risk was not able to offer a product on par with those massively fun competitors, right? So for us, being just three, we know that being small and lean can actually make you a better team. So we like focus 100% of our energy on that, and kind of forget about marketing for a long time, forget about a lot of the things a lot of startup would actually focus first, like acquisition channels and things like that. For us, it was always a afterthought. It feels strange because we did have success in the end, but yeah, it's pretty much that.
Okay. Have you changed, and have you started after, you figured out that you have your customers? Have you started putting some money into marketing? Like, what have you started with?
We haven't did a lot actually. Uh, so we have a homemade affiliate program that's working quite well, and the people on it like are professional marketers, so they're gonna invest their money to make money with the affiliate program. And so we're actually writing big check now. Like I think a guy, we actually sent him more than $100,000 now. So, but the guy spends the money on ads. So I don't know what's. I think he told me like he make like 20% profit something. But there's that. We did, a lot of SEO content. When I say a lot, it's probably a lot less than most startup. We did experiment with that. With Missive, we never did any paid marketing, any paid ads, nothing yet. It's probably something we're going to play and experiment with in the future, but not to this day. And we've been working on Missive for the last 8 years, so it's not a priority.
Yeah, it seems like it's not a priority. Talking about your affiliate program, you actually built your own affiliate system or platform, or tell
Yeah.
me more what you actually built. Why not, come into another big fight in SaaS, build or buy? Why not buy?
Well, for us, like keep in mind we are building an email client, so we deal with a lot of sensitive data, and and it's one reason why we never really invested that much money in paid acquisition channels, because if you want to measure those channels, you need to add a lot of tracking to your application. And for us, it was not a good move, we believe, and we still believe, to put trackers in an email client, right? It's just not, you don't want to have that in your privacy policy or your terms of service, that you have like Facebook, LinkedIn, and all of the different tracker in your app. And so owning the affiliate program meant that we own 100% of the tracking. And so we did not have to use a third party and add them to our privacy policy. So yeah, pretty much that. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very understandable. But yeah, since you started talking about your competitors and the fact that you didn't raise any money, and but you actually were trying to apply to YC, any reservations about the fact that you, well, at some point maybe weren't able to raise, at some point maybe decided not to, in a way that oh, if we did, where would have Missive
Oh, yeah,
been?
there's no doubt in my mind that if we would have been accepted in YC, I mean, I have no doubt that we would have created a lot of value, because like the three of us, especially my two co-founders, they're beast. Like they're absolute beast. And you know, I know the value of a program like Y Combinator, and I know that it can accelerate people like us. We never were accepted, so we just accepted that fact. And without having like YC to me is like an MBA. It's like it tells you the steps to raise money. It tells you the traps not to fall in. It tells you, it gives you a playbook. And without that playbook, especially us being in Quebec City, where there's, I mean, the VC scene, I mean, there's some VC here, but it's not like in the US or in the Valley. It was pretty clear for us that we would just, it would be better to bootstrap and choose that path. Now, I mean, we're extremely profitable. I mean, we own 100% of the business. So if you ask me now, I think it's a good thing we haven't been accepted to YC, because keep in mind that it's not because you bootstrap for 8 years that at some point you cannot accelerate. It's never too late to accelerate growth, right? Missive is an extremely good product. Our customer are extremely satisfied. And what I tell my team and my co-founder is like, I mean, it's never too late to press on the gas pedal, right? So I still think we have a lot of opportunity in front of us, and especially now that the company is more mature, we have bring more people on board, we have revenues. So I feel like right now it's like we had to raise money, because we have enough revenue that we can actually invest in a lot of things that before, being just the three of us, we were not doing. So, bring people with a lot of experience. I think we're going to do really interesting thing in the future. Uh, I don't even remember your question, so I guess my answer was too long. But yeah.
No, it was good. It was good. I want to also ask you about the two previous acquisitions, right? You sold your previous two companies. And another thing that we often discuss here is the fact that when you're involved in an acquisition, it takes so much time and so much effort. And well, no
Mm.
matter how smooth and nice the process is, it's still, well, it's draining and it's stressful, and especially in your kind of super small team. And as
Yeah.
far as I know, it's the same team that's been working on all the
Yeah.
products. So how are you able to, well, first of all, how was your experience? You sold both to Tiny, right? How was your experience selling, and how did you make sure that you weren't taking out of the process so much that it would break something or even interfere with your day-to-day
Yeah.
operations?
Well, I think one advantage we had is because we were such a small team, you know, it was easy for us to gather the information required for such process. And we were always quite organized in the back end, like finance, accounting, legal, everything was clean. There's no complexity. We didn't have like many investors. It was just the three of us. So it was extreme simplicity. So when we sold Conference Batch to Tiny, we hired some specialized lawyers who help us with that, and both on our side and on the Tiny side. And I think it's the same playbooks you guys have. They said actually the easiest transaction they ever saw. I mean, the LOI and the other step after the LOI, my lawyers was like, I've never seen such a small contract, right?
Yeah.
It was like the process was extremely fast. I think from the day we accept Andrew's offer, I think it took a month. It was fully completed. And
That's crazy
then,
fast.
and I think, I mean, my fear was like we would sold conference badge, and then for like 6 months it would be like back and forth, like we would, and it wasn't actually like that. They were extremely fast in taking over it, and maybe a few emails there and there, a few calls for like technical stuff, and that was it. Never heard of them again. So I guess it's good.
Yeah, it's super good and super fast. So there was no earnout period or anything like that. It was all cash upfront.
It was, yeah, it was. There was a 10% old back for, I think, if
Mm,
3 months,
okay,
something like
just
that.
like a training period.
And initially they were planning to add something for a year. And I think it's Andrew who emailed the guy who was negotiating with us. It's like, make it simple. Like, make it simple, right? Let's just
Yeah,
do all of this fast. And I mean, it's to their merit. I think that's why they can acquire so many business. I guess you guys have the same playbook. You try
sure.
to be lean and make the process easy for everyone involved. Because I guess now when I say getting acquired by Tiny is easy, or if Antoine from Dash Dish said that the process was easy and clean, in a way, it's good marketing for you guys, right? For Tiny and SaaS Group, it's like you want the founder that got acquired, to say that the process was easy. But I just want to correct something. You say I sold two business to Tiny. I just sold one.
Isn't okay. Well, you know better, obviously. But I think was it Lean Ticket too,
Oh, it's
or
the
was it
same
kind of
corp.
like
Okay, yes, yeah,
okay?
it's the same corp. Yeah, same transaction. Yeah,
Okay, all
yeah.
right, I see. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's amazing when I think acquirers can offer this because we're both us and Tiny, we're serial acquirers, so it's what
Mhm.
we do, right? So we kind of can offer this streamlined deals because then again,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
you and companies like you, it's yeah, get it because we want to get out as fast as possible, and
That's the thing, right?
yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I probably could have wait and try to sell conference badge for more money, but that's not what I wanted, because the guy that was operating conference badge decided to leave, and I was like, I don't want to put time on this. I
Mm,
want to sell it as fast as possible. And I sent an email to Andrew, and obviously I had detailed a lot of things, like put a lot of data, and like I think 25 minutes he did his first offer. Like, it was
okay.
like full cash like this. I was like, oh no. And I waited 3 weeks because I was negotiating with a startup from Toronto, a big startup in the event industry. And I did a landing process with them with so many meetings. And at the end, they offered like a third of what Andrew had offered.
Oh wow.
And then so I started to renegotiate with Andrew. And then, like, I think like when I started to renegotiate with him, a day later it was closed. So it was extremely
Okay.
fast. Yeah.
That's super fast. Yeah. And I mean, I really appreciate the transparency. And it seems like, you've been pretty open about what's going on and like about your profits with Missive. I think 2022, you said it was at 2 million ARR. Have you guys grown since then? And I don't really need exact numbers, but how was the
Yeah.
last 2 years for you? Because everyone's kind of freaking out.
For us, it was always 60% per year. Seems that that's our number, 60% uh, uh,
Okay.
growth.
Growth.
So yeah, now we're like at, I don't think we're at 6 million US revenue, but we're approaching it.
Mm.
Every year, I think the growth will slow down, and there's a few months where I'm a bit depressed, and it seems to slow down, but then it seems to kick back off at some point. I don't know. I'm such a bad marketer. It's like I don't control the growth. It just happens. Like,
Right.
people say if you build something, people won't come. For us, well, actually, they did come. I don't know what we did, but we just focused on the product and it worked. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many stories here on the podcast where, yeah, people came. That I don't really say this anymore. You know, I don't believe it's not black and white. But I remember and another podcast that you did, and there was something you said about not tracking any data. So like we don't look at data, and it what we value is like our customers' feelings because we talk to them and we're very customer centric. And I think again it was a couple years ago that you said it on the interview. Is it still the same?
Well, I think so, but we do have metrics in place now. It's quite recent, but I've implemented. So we were not able to like answer the question like what were our customer do, like what feature they were using. It was kind of a black box, and we had to always have conversation with customers. And so after hiring a few people, like that was kind of the first obvious win, was just to have more clarity on what were people actually doing with Missive without having to talk to them specifically. Obviously, we still do interview. We're still extremely customer centric, but it helps us guide those conversations with customers because now we can approach, okay, because in Missive there's automation. Okay, well, let's try to talk to people that do not use automation in Missive. Do they know they can do it, or do they not want to use it? So we can target the customer to know more about how they're using Missive. And actually doing that project was extremely fun. It was like I used Segment and Mixpanel, and I mean Mixpanel I had never used, but it's such a great product. It's really expensive, but it's amazing. I actually love it. I mean, the dashboards are really flexible and amazing. But yeah.
Well, if mixed panel is expensive, then you know what to use. You know, there is dash this.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the same.
No,
Yeah, I don't
not
think it's
really.
the same actually. I don't think it's the same use case.
Yeah, not all the way. But it was a shameless plugin. Sorry. But yeah, since you started talking about raising the team, and there was another thing that I noticed when I went to the website. And I guess I got lucky because it was like right there in your blog. You shared your all hands memo, and it was
Yeah.
just basically all there, black and white, what you're doing, what you're building, how the business is going. And that's something that you share with your team. And that's something that, again, talking about transparency, you just put out there in your blog. So I wanted to talk about the team. How big is it now?
So we're 12. Yeah.
12. Okay.
Yeah.
Still
But we were
super
3
small.
in December, so
Oh,
it's like
wow.
we yeah.
And you've
So
been
quite a
three
lot of change.
for a long time.
We
So
had a period where we tried to hire people, didn't work out. Either we were not satisfied or they left, and so we were not really good at doing the real business thing. We were good at
hmm,
doing the product part, not the business part, right?
yeah.
So I think it's last November. Me and my co-founder were kind of not depressed, but we're like, what's the next stage of the business? Like, our only developer had choose to leave, and it was like, God, I mean, we're still back to just the three of us, right? And then we had so many things to deal with. So at that point, we said, okay, we need to hire someone that can help us take care of that part of the business, help us with to hire people, help us put in place the different processes you need to have when you have employees so everyone is happy and you can assess their performance and things like that. And since December, that's pretty much what we worked on. And yeah, it's pretty good. But as for transparency, like the memo, what's funny is like the first job post we did was for developers. And one of the things we put in writing was like, we're a meeting less culture, because like me and my co-founder, we've been working so long, we didn't have any meeting. It was just chat, and that was good enough. And so for us, it was like, let's put that in the job post so people like know that like there's not much meeting, right? But in reality, when you are more people, you realize like you do need to communicate, right? If it's not meetings, you still need to radiate the information. You still need to exchange information. So for the last 6 months, we experiment with things. So we start to do one all ends with everyone every month. And then for the all ends to be productive, because you see me, I kind of ramble around. I'm not like a really direct person. So for those not to be just ramblings, I decide let's write something first, and that's going to be the basis of our conversation, right? And so instead of me rambling, I write it down, and then the team can ask me questions, and we can go from it. And after the first one, I had written it, and I was like, well, that should be content. It's good, I think, and probably our customer would love to see like what's the future of the business, what's the roadmap. So I posted on the blog post, and our customer were really excited. It was like, ah, it's so cool to have a to have a window into the business to see what you're gonna do. So that was quite successful. But we're not like extremely like there's business that shares salaries, shares things like that. We don't do that. I mean, we kind of share. We decide what we're gonna share. We don't share everything like by default, right? It's like we decide if okay, should this be shared? Yes, no, and if yes, we share it. But I see this as a way to create interesting content as well. So,
No, that's
but yeah.
great. I mean, I think it's still great because you're kind of playing into like that's our culture and this is the transparency that we're going for. And you're also, like you said, it's content. You're engaging with your customers, and you give them a way to see what's going to happen. But it's interesting that that you mentioned that at first when you started hiring people, it didn't really work out because
No.
you didn't know how to do it or like how to work with a bigger team. What has changed this year?
Well, I hired someone which helped to do those things. I'm so obsessed with the product. It's like all of the things not related to the product, they're not really interesting to me. And so I will be able to do sprints. Like in this, I can do for 2 weeks. I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to do trade show. I'm going to go with somebody from my team. I'm going to do that. But then I need to go back to the product at some point. So we hired someone that could actually be the person that
Bridges.
bridges those gap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and manage those processes and challenge me into implementing those processes, because me personally, I don't like process. I like not chaos, but I don't take notes. I every morning I decide what I'm gonna do. I don't like to have a busy schedule. So those things are in a way contradictory to like having a big team. You need to have those things in place. So I hired someone that would do those things for me, and I think it's a pretty good success to this day because we're planning to hire more people now. So
That's interesting. Okay. And yeah, since you're so obsessed with the product, and what's your favorite feature that you've built, and how did you decide that this is something you wanted to do?
well, I can talk to you about what we're working on now. So Missive is an email client, right? So one sentence I like, it's like a multiplayer email client. So a lot of our customer, like most of their business is email, whether it's like trucking companies, whether it's like whatever, right? Any business that runs on emails will actually love Missive because it breaks silos, makes things more efficient, it makes communicating internally more efficient. And a lot of our customer, when we built Missive, they were like, hey, you need to build integration with like Asana or Trello or ClickUp, or because all of my tasks, they come from email. So I need to find a way to bridge those things to my task management platform. And but that Discord changed, and the more conversation we had with our customers, like, well, actually, like Missive is the one thing I don't want to lose. Like all of those task management app, I don't really care actually. I just prefer all of this to be in Missive, right? So in a way, it's like we started with the email client part, we added a collaboration, and I think like the last piece that's missing for a lot of our customers to be the complete solution for actually managing like their full business is just to have better task management in Missive. And so we're building that, and we start to play with the first alpha version, and it's it's really exciting for us. And since we do pretty much everything in Missive too, because we manage everything in the business in Missive, like those features for us going to be pretty cool, because at some point, like especially because we've grown the team, like we were missing something. So yeah, we're working on that. Should be released next fall, and I think that's going to be really. I'm really excited to put this into our customer ends, because they've been asking that for a long time, and yeah, that's our new focus.
Cool. All right. So it seems like you're really staying customer centric all the way through. That's really great to see.
Yeah, that was our initial success. So why not? Why not stick with it? We don't want to break the formula.
True. True. If it works, it works. Don't touch it. But yeah. Well, the last two questions. Um, First one is, so far, what has been the biggest win and the biggest failure for you in Missive?
The biggest win. I mean, it's just small wins after small wins after small wins. It's been so long we've been working on Missive now. I don't know. Biggest wins. No, it's just a series of smaller wins. It's same, but it's the same for the failures.
Right.
Because we're not a drama story. There's not a lot of drama in our business. Like if you look at our history, it's like, yeah, it's pretty much like that, like all the way. So not much big wins, not much big failures, just like normal ups and downs every day.
Yeah.
And the sum of them is makes it where we are now. But nothing like no big wins, no big failures. No,
Nothing major.
I
Okay.
I, I can't remember.
I
Sorry.
mean, you still being very passionate about what you've been building for 8 years. I think it's a pretty good win.
Oh
Um,
yeah, maybe.
and yeah, well, then the last one is a hack. Again, maybe there is a hack after 8 years, after, well, more 25 years, let's say, of building stuff. Is there a hack? Maybe, how to build really great products. Maybe how to do anything. Can be even
Is
like
there an
mental
hack?
health. How to be passionate after 25 years.
I mean, nothing out of the ordinary here, but I had a lot of back pain in the past, and I think that was all related to stress. And I think the last 4 years, I kind of solved that back pain by just going to the gym and lifting a lot of weights, which seems contrary when you have a lot of back pains. So my biggest personal act is just to lift weights, which is not that exciting, but that actually changed my life, because I was miserable. Like 4 years ago was miserable, and now I don't have back pain anymore. So yeah, that's my biggest act for quality of
That's
life.
cool. That's a great hack. That works. And you won't believe it, but Francois from Sauce Boss, from Sniffcard, he said exactly the same thing. Lift heavier weights.
Yeah, I
It's
know
a
is
like
is a
Canadian
friend.
thing.
So we connect with that. We both have the same issues and the same solutions.
Cool. All right, that works. I'm going to put it into like tag Canadian hacks. So, but yeah, thanks so much for sharing them anyway. And well, it's a great story. I love how the fact that you've been bootstrapping for so long and been building different products for so long still, like I said, keeps you so passionate about it, and you can still see how the company can grow, and how,
Oh
well,
yeah. One thing I must say, sorry to
yeah.
cut you, is like there's a lot of people's like bootstrapping. It's like, oh yeah, you're bootstrapping. It doesn't prevent us from having big ambition, right?
Mhm.
I see Missive, like the destination to me is big, right? Like right now we're still like we're not so big, but I mean it's a success. But I still have a lot of ambition, and it's not because not doing like the normal playbook that I don't have those ambition. It's just that I believe that there's a path where I don't necessarily have to do what everybody else do, and I think there's still a way to get to realize those ambition, just doing it a bit differently.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for saying that. I mean, there are so many ridiculously successful bootstrap companies. It's really
Yeah.
inspiring. So, and well, you guys are also a big success. So, thank you so much for telling the story. And I'll be happy to interview you again next year. See where you're at with that growth and, bigger team and more features. So yeah, thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks so much, Anna.
Anytime, and take care.